Hello and welcome back to Grand Prix Madrid. This is Tim Willoughby alongside Moraine Lebert. Hopefully all of our little gremlins in the system have been summarily dismissed and we'll get a chance to get a little bit more magic from our round one here at Grand Prix Madrid. We're going to go back to our time walk match just to let you know where things are at in that one. The English team, Pete Ward and co, having a little bit of a rough ride of it in these early turns, but we're going to get a chance to see a little bit more legacy now as we head back to see Aaron Burnsley. He's playing Dredge up against Mark Tobias on a very interesting looking Death's Shadow list for legacy.
Yeah, very interesting, and he's facing off against Dredge as we saw in game number one. This time Dredge does have the Putrid Imp as a discard outlet on turn one, but it seems like Mark Tobias is holding 2 copies of Surgical Extraction. Surgical Extraction, a card that has become very popular in Legacy at this point. A lot of the Grixis Delver lists, for example, are running 3 copies of Surgical Extraction, and that is a card very hard to beat if you're on a deck like Dredge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Dredge is an interesting one because it can kind of overload its graveyard in a way that a lot of decks can't. But at the same time, if you can snipe key cards from the graveyard at the right moment, it definitely makes life problematic. And Putrid Imp here, allowing for a Stinkweed Imp to get discarded. That does have Dredge. So our Imp tribal list looking pretty strong right now. And it'll mean that in the draw step, Aaron Burnsley able to put 5 cards in his graveyard in order to get that Stinkweed Imp back in his hand. And the graveyard's where he basically wants all of his cards. And here's Surgical Extraction. If there was a cycled Street Wraith in response, that would be epic. As things stand, though, that not happening. So the Street Wraith getting exiled alongside all the others. And here you can see Mark Tobias very carefully looking through, pulling out key cards of concern. So he pulls up a Firestorm. That a card that you don't necessarily see in all lists all the time. He wants to get a feel for which things he really needs to be looking out for. Maybe where he wants to be deploying his second copy of Surgical Extraction as and when that may come. And he's getting a full count. You can see 3 Firestorms thus far.
Firestorm, of course, a very potent card if your opponent is looking to go down as low as 5 life. Discard a couple of cards, 5 to you, 5 to your Dead Shadow, just kill you right on the spot. This Surgical Extraction, it seems like it's an auto play when your opponent is trying to Dredge Stinkweed Imp. I think there's much more play to it in Legacy, because removing all the Igorites and the bridges from below does lower Aaron Burnsley chances by quite a big margin. So you could get rid of a Stinkweed Imp, could get rid of all the Golgari attacks, but then what happens if he still draws a Grave Troll? I mean, he's got a lot of Dredge cards in his deck, and the Grave Troll is actually the best one.
So yeah, we see here Golgari Thug getting discarded, and that's now the next thing that gets targeted by this Surgical Extraction. Essentially, this is Mark Tobias trying to end the game before it begins, not allow Aaron Burnsley a way of reliably dredging. Those copies of Cephalid Colosseum in Aaron Burnsley's hand, once you have Threshold, they are absolutely phenomenal in any dredge list. Until that point, they're islands that deal you 1 damage every time you tap them, and that's about that.
And unfortunately, the cards that you see on the top of the screen are in the exile zone, so not in the graveyard, so no Threshold yet for Aaron Burnsley, and it's going to be quite difficult for him to reach that in this game. He really needs to draw a Golgari Grave Troll. Yeah,
3 lands in hand, all essentially stranded. Has to just draw for his turn.
That's a good draw.
Looks like a breakthrough that he's drawn there. Big enabler for graveyard mechanics ever since its printing in Odyssey. Odyssey giving quite a lot to any deck that looking to do things with the graveyard.
He's going for breakthrough for 1. Ooh, and Mark Turbio, he was a little bit quick. Doesn't he have the daze? I think he does have a daze there.
Oh, wow.
So if Aaron Burnsley would have done it for 0, he wouldn't have been able to daze, but now, yeah, he went for 1. A little bit of a greedy play. The card in your hand do matter. You do have cards like Fatalist Looting, but he is getting punished by this. He also takes 2 from his own lands, Mana Confluence and Cephalid Colosseum.
Yeah, it's a weird little situation here. The A plan of Dredge very effectively being shut off by Mark Tobias here. In the meantime, though, he has dealt himself a fair amount of damage. We know that he's looking to do that in order to get things going with his copies of Death Shadow. But there is an imp. Plug it away.
Yeah. Discard a couple of cards. Threshold +2/+1/+1. So attack for 2.
Getting Threshold at this point is going to be very tricky for Aaron Burnsley. Getting anything going is looking a little dicey. He needs to find more dredgers, and we know that 7 of them have already been exiled by Mark Tobiash. He has a 5/5 Death Shadow. Putrid Imp does not naturally have flying. It needs Threshold to gain it. So right now...
You can discard a card to give it flying, I think. No?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, okay, because it gets bigger when you have Threshold. Yep. That's correct. But yeah, this Death Shadow, it's not going to take too long to start taking chunks out of Aaron Burnsley's life total here. Stubborn Denial, if you can get down one more life point, will be a negate for 1 mana. Stubborn Denial, good enough for Legacy now, and we found a way of losing that life. That is a Street Wraith drawing into a Force of Will. So Mark Tobiash here, he's got everything going for him in this game too. And look at the way that the games have fallen out in the first set in this team's match. Pierre Dajon won his game 1, in addition to Oliver Polak-Rotman and Mark Tobiash doing so. That meaning that this powerhouse team, all Haruruya players, looking very strong against the collective forces of the Brits.
Oh, and on top of that, mismatched City of Brass for Aaron Burnsley. He was already in bad shape, but now, yeah. He could jump for 1 more turn, so there's that. But yeah, then next turn what he's going to do, he will need to find a chump blocker every turn. He doesn't need, I mean, even attacking with the Putrid Imp for 1 grows the Death Shadow, so that's dangerous. So yeah, I don't think he can even attack there. And should he go down to Threshold, he can't even block anymore. So yeah, this is not looking very good for Aaron Burnsley.
Yeah, it's a very interesting list that I'm very happy we've had a chance to show on camera. It may be we get a chance to talk to Mark Tobiash either on camera or indeed our text coverage team get a chance to speak to him about the origins of this list, because Mark, known to be a very innovative deck designer, and this list seems very potent.
Yeah, and in these days, it's hard to be innovative. I mean, how many players are just bringing stock deck lists to the tournament? There's a lot of them, right? Mark is one of the very few that still tries to come up with new things. He doesn't just play whatever is supposed to be tier 1, tier 2. He comes up with new decks every tournament, every PT. You see him bringing something new. If he's running a stock list, then you are sure this is one of the best decks in the tournament. Because then, if he chooses that, you know it's one of the best. Again, there we see a chump block with the Putrid Imp on the Death Shadow, and I think we're going to see another 5/5 creature. Aaron Burns at 8 at this point. All of his lands deal him 1 damage. This is going to be a tough game. That double Surgical Extraction pretty much spelled the end of it. Another City of Brass. Bridge from Below Hardcast.
You don't very often see a Bridge from Below in play, and Mark Tobiash there playfully showing the Stubborn Denial for it. But he picks up the first match win here in this series, so we've had a chance to see a little bit of Standard, a little bit of Legacy. We're actually going to get a chance to jump back to see a little bit more of the Standard match between Oliver Polak-Rotman and Matthew Folks here. So just for you guys that didn't get a chance to see too much of Game 1, it's blue-black on blue-black, but these two lists not too similar, Moraine.
No. On the left of your screen, we do have Oliver Polak-Rotman on blue-black control. Cards like Essence Scatter, Disallow, a lot of removal, and then finishers. On the other side of the table, we have a blue-black mid-range deck, which is a deck with Glintsleeve Siphoner, Champion of which both cards are willing to control your draw steps, discard your bad cards and draw better cards, and then trying to kill his opponent with mid-range creatures like Gonti, of course also Scarab God, because that card is just too powerful not to play. But yeah, the deck from Matthew Folks is more aggressive. It's trying at least to attack his opponent.
Matthew Folks, a known streamer and one of the players who has a lot of trophies on Magic Online right now. Argyle's Bloodfast in play. That a card that we've not necessarily seen a huge amount of in Standard historically, but it's got its moment to shine right now, providing a little bit of additional card advantage for Matthew Folkes, assuming that he's willing to pay that life.
Yeah, to me that card is a big surprise, and it also shows how mid-rangey the format Standard is at this point in time. If you can run a card which allows you to pay 2 mana and 2 life to draw just a single card, it just shows how slow the format is and how important card advantage is.
Oliver Polak-Rotman, when we joined him in his game 1, he was well down on life. Here, with the likes of Argyle's Bloodfast, it works out that the life totals are currently in his favour, and we can see some interesting ones in his hand as well he's brought in after sideboarding here. He does have a few more creatures to work with potentially. We may see an ambush from Torrential Gearhulk. That one not too unusual, but there's a big old demon in his hand also.
Yeah. Dark Schemes. Ooh, look at that. Triple black, -2/-2 to everything and a bunch of energy, and then start reanimate. It's like Scarab God with flying.
Well, in the battle of Scarab God versus Flying Scarab God, maybe the flying's important. I'm not quite sure. It's not something that I've seen so much of actually on the battlefield in Standard. We'll get a chance to see exactly how that one plays out soon enough.
And now Matthew is going down to 4 life. This will mean that the Argyle's Bloodfast will flip into the land in Temple of Aclazotz. Am I saying that right? Which lets you sacrifice a creature and gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. Of course, it's going to be at the beginning of your upkeep. So Oliver Polak-Rotman still has some time to put something, to fight that card from flipping. Let's see if he finds something. We do see they have a little bit of a discussion. Maybe Matthew was a little bit too fast in drawing all of these cards. He did tap 6, so yeah, he is going to draw another card. He is at 4 life now, so in his upkeep, the Argyle's Bloodfast will flip. Here we go, untap. The Gonti still in play. Flip. Of course, the Temple of Aclazotz not that good as the Argyle's Bloodfist, but I'm sure Matthew Folkes is happy with an extra mana now that he's drawing that much cards. And even if the land would be something powerful with a powerful ability, there is still the Field of Ruin for Oliver Polak-Rotman in play.
Field of Ruin, a pretty important piece of the puzzle for both of these decks, making sure that for the likes of Azcan to the Sunken Ruin, it doesn't get too out of hand. Yes, we may see that once Argyle's Bloodfast gets transformed, that becomes another land that's a juicy target. I mean, if nothing else, when you do start transforming these enchantments into land, suddenly your control decks are able to get more lands in play a little bit more easily, and control decks are the ones that can really use all of that additional land a little bit better than almost any other deck in the format. So Matthew Folkes here, he looks across to his left and sees that Pete Ward has squared things up against Pierre d'Argent. There is still hope for the English team here up against the collection of Haruruya pros on the other side of the table. Matthew Folkes needs to win 2 on the bounce. Pete Ward needs to win his game 3 against Pierre d'Argent. But for all of you there rooting for this streamer and his team, there is still a chance as Liliana comes down. Liliana, Death's Majesty, so we may get a chance to stabilize things just a little bit. Planeswalkers historically pretty good against control when you are able to get them into play.
Yeah, of course, this Standard format is defined also by Vraska's Contempt, a card that is very good at handling Planeswalkers at instant speed, but still getting 1 activation out of it is quite important. Seems like we saw a hand, probably from Mark Tobias, because he is ready with his match, helping out Oliver Polak-Rotman a little bit, telling him to play that Torrential Gearhulk. Of course, the Gearhulk, a very good card if your opponent is at 4 life. If you can flash that one in and deal the last few damage.
I mean, also you can use it to find a counterspell for this Liliana, but I think that we may see here that there's enough land still untapped for Matthew Folkes that he's able to use a Supreme Will to counter the Torrential Gearhulk. That means that Liliana will hit the battlefield.
And I think the plan for Oliver is to untap and play that Demon of Dark Schemes. It feels like that might be his only plan in this particular game. He needs to pressure the Liliana. He needs to pressure Matthew Folks, because Matthew has just drawn too many cards, and he knows the game. If the game is going longer, these extra few cards are probably gonna win him the game. He does have that Search for Azcanta coming online rather quickly. Yeah, 7 cards in the graveyard right now. Let's see what he goes for this turn. He does have both the Scarab God and the Demon. He's going for Demon. That's gonna kill off the zombie and generate some energy. That's
energy.
The Demon, actually a card we don't see quite often.
Yeah, it was a card that I was definitely happy to draft in back in Kaladesh. 6 mana, kind of the high water mark for what you were looking to be doing in that format, at least for me. But in this instance, it is a very interesting one at just giving you a bit of crowd control and then potentially more if you're able to generate enough energy from creatures dying off.
And not the best blocker against Gonti though, because Gonti, of course, a 2/3 death touch. Let's not forget, there's also still the card underneath the Gonti from Oliver Pollock-Rotman, so that is probably a very powerful card. Matthew Folks, in the meantime, he's at 3, 6, 9, 10 mana. Gonna play another. Yeah, he's gonna reanimate his Torrential Gearhulk. This is not looking very good for Oliver Pollock-Rotman. Wouldn't be too surprised to see a scoop very soon. Freak Torrential Gearhulk, still 10 mana up. This is getting out of hand.
So yeah, getting to cast that commit again, just put the Demon back in Oliver Pollock-Rotman's deck. It clears a path and means that Matthew Folks here can start looking at troubling Oliver Pollock-Rotman's life total a little bit. I think we're going to see this life total change pretty quickly here as Champion of Wits also joining the team. And so much mana still available for Matthew Folks. His board getting quite busy at this point.
Of course, the Torrential Gearhulk does have the extra creature type as a zombie. Another land for Matthew Folks. I don't see a way for Oliver Pollock-Rotman to come back from here. He needs to kill the Planeswalker, kill a lot of creatures, or kill his opponent. But if your opponent has so many creatures in play for a deck like Blue-Black Control, even a Scarab God can't get him out of this situation. He would need like 3 activations to get enough zombies in order to kill Matthew Folks from 4 life. But that would also mean that Matthew cannot have any answer to the Scarab God, which is very unlikely now that he's drawn so many cards. And then there's still the Temple. Even Temple, sacrifice some creatures, get some more life. This is not looking very good.
Yeah, it was noted by our chat that there was a moment where Matthew Folks could have sacrificed that zombie to gain a couple of life with his Temple. Didn't elect to do that at the time. Maybe he was concerned about keeping a little bit of extra mana up. But as things stand, even though the life totals are 14-4, this is not a bad spot whatsoever for the Englishman here against Oliver Pollock-Rotman. Pollock-Rotman able to draw into his Demon of Dark Schemes just a little bit quicker thanks to his ability to churn through his deck just a little bit quicker with that Search for Azcanta, which is now transformed. This is our Time Walk match, so even though we've already shown you a match, it's not quite as far through the round as it might appear for you guys watching. Demon of Dark Schemes coming along, dealing with just Champion of Wits, and to be honest, I don't even know if he really wanted to kill off that Champion of Wits. Offers Matthew Folks more opportunity to draw into additional cards. Matthew Folks is going to need to win a whole extra game after this, so time still something that he needs to be thinking about.
Yeah, I see. There's a bunch of Champion of Wits in the graveyard for Matthew Folks, so he doesn't even care getting a 3rd copy in the graveyard. But the best card in play at this point is just Liliana Death's Majesty. +1, it creates a zombie, a 2/2 zombie, which is fine, not that exciting. The -3 though, we saw it last turn. It reanimates a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. This time around, it was a Torrential Gearhulk, which has a come into play ability. Even if you reanimate it with Liliana's Death Majesty, you still get to come into play ability. Was able to flash that commit memory back, and now He's once again untapping. He's gonna Doomfall that demon. Target player sacrifices a creature. -3 my Liliana, get Scarab God. Yeah, that's enough.
All right, so we're going to be going on to game 3 between Oliver Polak-Rotman and Matthew Folkes. Pete Ward has picked up his game win against Pierre Dajon. That means this is where it's all going to end up.
Yeah. So and this is the match you live for in team tournaments. 1-1 in matches, 1-1 in games. All 6 people watching that one match, 2 of them playing it. A close matchup after Cyber. Blue-Black mid-range is better positioned than before Cyber against Blue-Black control. You get to Cyber out all of these fatal pushes. Get some cards like Argos Bloodfast, which we saw was very good in this matchup. Getting these extra lands for Matthew Folkes. We saw Oliver Polak-Rotman. He was stuck on 6 lands while Matthew had 11. Because of all the card draw he was able to make land drop after land drop after land drop.
Well, the wonders of Time Walk Magic. We get to get through the shuffling process and start things off here. It looks like Oliver Polak-Rotman starting on 6 here with a scry to the top. And we will do our best to bring you all of this. Things are beginning to close out here in the round. We're now actually in extra time here.
He does have quite a good hand, going down to 6 though. Moment of Craving, Essence Scatter, Glimmer of Genius. Oh, he's gonna lose one of these cards. Let's take a look. Illumination. So quite a good hand for Oliver Polak-Rotman. Got answers for pretty much every. He's gonna choose. Wow, that's a bold choice. Getting rid of the Illumination, just doesn't want Oliver Polak-Rotman to cycle. Wow, because at 4 mana, the Glimmer of Genius is just so much better. But still goes for the Illumination. Doesn't want, and I think big part of that was wanting to play that Argos Bloodfast on turn 3. He knew Oliver Polak-Rotman did not have a counter for an enchantment. Didn't want to give him the extra draw from the Illumination, and now he did resolve one of his best cards after Cyber in the matchup. Now
you will notice that this game appears to be going a little bit quicker. That is not that simply just the players are watching out for time. We sped up the match just a little bit in an effort to make sure that we can bring you it to its conclusion, because our main matches on the floor at the GP have now completed. There's maybe a ruling that means that there's 1 or 2 games still going, but we're fast approaching the end of round 1 here at Grand Prix Madrid, as another duress coming from Oliver Polak-Rotman here hits a dispel on the other side of things.
Yeah, now Oliver Polak-Rotman is in a tough spot. He's got Doomfall, Essence Scatter, Negate, and Moment of Craving. Doesn't really have anything powerful. It's got a lot of answers, but answers are not that good when your opponent is just drawing extra cards. I mean, how many answers can you have if your opponent is drawing two cards a turn more than you are? And once again, Matthew is going to make all of the land drops. He's not going to miss a land drop very soon.
Land drops obviously very important in this matchup, important in every control matchup. But as things stand, Matthew Folkes, he's got control of both life totals here. He gets to draw more cards with that Argyle's Bloodfast. He gets to attack Oliver Polak-Rotman's life total. That, if anything, a secondary concern for him right now.
Yeah, this is not. Once again, this might just be a replay of last game, where Oliver Polak-Rotman sees himself at the bad side of Argos Bloodfest. It's crazy to me how good this card is in this current format. With so many control decks running around, they just don't pressure your life total. You can easily go down to 8, 6. There's no, as long as you have like a 1 removal for Torrential Gearhulk, this card's just so good.
So, Glimmer of Genius on both sides here. One of them coming with the help of a Torrential Gearhulk, though, and Torrential Gearhulk plus that Gonti. At some point, Oliver Polak-Rotman's going to have to pull the trigger on some removal for that Gearhulk, because his life total getting harassed pretty substantially here. But Matthew Folkes, he's got so many cards in hand that he's able to choose what he wants to kill off. Double Moment of Craving here to potentially kill Gonti. And are we going to see some counter magic on the second one?
I think he has the negate, but it's not worth it, to be fair. he doesn't really care about the 2-3. I think that's a good play by Matthew, keeping that negate for other problematic cards like the one we're probably going to see now. I mean, this is a much better target. He's not even going to bite. I mean, he might be right, to be honest. Although I do not know how much time is left, because that's actually the point. He wants to keep the 5-6 in play. I think if this is game 1, he wouldn't mind that much getting rid of the Torrential Gearhulk, because he's drawing that many cards. That one creature in play is not that important, but there might be just a few minutes left.
So this is a little awkward. It looked like in response to the Doom Ball, Matthew Folks did pick up his Torrential Gearhulk and move it to one side. He then maybe thought better of it and thought that maybe he should be countering that spell. By the looks of it, Oliver Polak-Rotman suggesting, well, you picking it up and moving it kind of suggests that you're letting that spell resolve. Looks like we're just going to have to wait and see exactly how this plays out. That face-down card, that's a face-down card that's stolen by Gonti. Even after Gonti gets killed off, still available to be cast by Matthew Folks. This is a big round 1 for Folks. Not an easy set of opponents to play against. Desperate to get a good start.
One of the stronger European teams, to be fair. Of course, there's no top 25 player in there, but these players, they all have GP top 8s. They have strong finishes at PTs. They know what they're doing. Mark Tobias in Legacy, with a deck not a lot of people know. This is not a team you want to be facing round 1 of a Grand Prix. But they're doing fine, and I think they're looking to win this game and the match if they have enough time to finish.
And of course, at this stage, each of these players may potentially have 2 teammates alongside them, which means there's a lot of eyes on this game even before you worry about all of us watching at home. Potential to get a little bit nervous for either of these players. Also, there could easily be quite a lot of chat at this table at this point on both sides, and if you're trying to just enact a line, that can be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, and I think what happened here was that Matthew Folks wanted to get rid of the Torrential Gearhulk, and maybe one of his teammates said, no, it's better to keep it alive. We need to start attacking very soon. And it seems like he does get to negate. Oh, there's another negate coming. Oh, look at that. From underneath the Gonti, a second Torrential Gearhulk and a handshake. Wow, that was a very good Gonti.
You can see why it was that Matthew Folks desperately wanted to make sure that he was going to be able to get a chance to use that bit of counter magic there. It all works out for him in spite of the fact that there was one counter spell for Oliver Polak-Rotman. It is the team of Matthew Folks alongside Pete Ward and Team England that are able to pick that one up. Big victory for them in this round 1. We know that some of you guys watching at home have been experiencing a few technical issues, a little bit of lag. We are going to take our stream down again just very briefly in an effort to try and alleviate those issues for you. But please do not go anywhere. Our round 1 is now complete here at Grand Prix Madrid, and we'll be back for more MTG launch with you, myself, Tim Willoughby, and Moraine Lebert, very soon indeed. Don't go anywhere.